Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, whatever the hell you're doing, and whoever the hell you're doing it to. I'm Bushka On Blitz, and I'm here today to have a chat to you about Tanky McTankersons, namely the Vk30 01P, this little German number here. And it's a bit of a surprising tank, and we're going to talk about surprises all the way through. What won't be surprising is that I'm still running the ammo whack competition. That's going to be on Monday my time, but for you Americans, you Yankee Doodle Dandies, it's an NA event, so I should be talking about NA times. It's going to be on at 8 PM Eastern. If you want to have a look at the world clock, we'll be doing count-ins on the world clock. If you count in, end up in the same game as me and blow me up, you are in the running for a T3485 victory, which is also a tier 6 medium. And I bring that point up because, my goodness gracious me, when I realized how many tier 6 mediums there were, it is no surprise that I have not actually had a drive of this tank yet. And I'm going to run you through them. Just the Germans alone. There's the 3001P, the 3001D, the 3002M, the Schmalterm, the Star Wars tank, the Cromwell, the M40A, M4A3E8 Sherman, the Easy 8, the Jumbo Sherman, the 3485 Victory, the T3485, the Cromwell B, the Type 4 Cheeto, this Threadswagen 74A2, if you like a little bit of the Nordic love, the Fury, the AC4 Sentinel. That's 14 medium tanks at tier 6. That's some kind of crazy number. Like, there's a lot of mediums at tier 6. So I really have got a bit of an excuse for not driving this tank. But I'll tell you what, I've got no excuse for not liking it because it performed above and beyond expectations. I really enjoyed driving this tank. It is so funky looking. It looks like a tier 7 heavy tank, like a Tiger P or a Tiger 1 or a Kuro Moro Mini at tier 6, but it performs every bit like a proper medium tank. It's really quick. It's got good gun depression. It's actually got pretty good armor for a medium tank, in fact. Not as good as you'd expect looking like a heavy tank, but it does pump nicely. And the thing that I really enjoyed about it was the extra little bit of alpha on the gun. Unlike most of the mediums at this tier, which pump along and have 75mm guns that do 160 average alpha, because that's one of the things in Blitz. If you've got a 75mm gun, you do 160. You've got a 150mm gun, you do 640. Those are the kind of numbers that just happen there. They're part of the rules if you're going to run around in Blitz. It actually has a much better weapon. I'll run you through the gun stats on it because they are kind of interesting. Is running those 75mm. You've got an 88, and it's a pretty bloody good 88mm as well. The 36L56. Now, a lot of these German tanks do share guns, but this is an interesting one because the 3002M and the Schmaltern and the 3001D, they all run 75mm. So you're running this 88mm, and it's got a 220 alpha gun, which is really bloody handy when you're fighting tanks that have 200 odd hit points left. It doesn't take you 2 shots to get through it. It takes you 1 nice average roll, or an ammo rack, if the case may be. And it doesn't particularly punish you too much in DPM. Some tanks have huge damage per minute numbers at this tier, and that's to be expected. It's just the case is that they've got better DPM than you, and you can't do anything about that. But you're not lagging so far behind. You're right safely smack bang in the middle tier at just under 2,000 damage per minute, running double rations, vents, and a rammer. The gun depression, though, is pretty bloody handy. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression. Now, there's some tanks at this tier that have crazy gun depression, like the Cromwell B. The Cheeto has 10. You've got 10 degrees on some of your Shermans and 12 degrees, in fact, on your Easy 8. But 8 degrees is just grand. And for the Germans, it's a common theme. You've got 2 other 8-degree tanks in the 3001D and the 3002M. Where this tank does seem to shine is in the armor. You can side scrape it, you can angle it up, you can do all kinds of things, and it doesn't suffer with mobility. It will get out at 60 kilometers an hour, which was really, really surprising for me. And it's bloody nice to have a tank that will do that kind of damage at this tier. Like 220 alpha is a big thing, don't get me wrong. If you're going to be playing a peekaboom tank, 220 Alpha is a hell of a lot better than 160 Alpha. And that's particularly important when you look at your hit point pool. You can see you're running around with tanks at this tier that have hit point pools that are generally around the 900 to 1000 mark in terms of a medium. So 220 is over 20% of a hit point pool. That means if you are playing peekaboo with your tank, you are able to effectively pop out, shoot them for 220, pull back, let the reload sink, and then go for your life. And that's really important because it's only a 5.6 second reload. It's not enough to really make it difficult to get shots off, and it's certainly not enough to make it tough to use damage per minute numbers, but it is enough to also allow you to peekaboo and side scrape here with your armor profile, which is just bloody lovely. And as I mentioned, 60 kilometers an hour will buy you an awful lot of mobility. Now, you are not the fastest or nippiest tank in the world. I mean, it's not like you're going to be able to take that 60 kilometers an hour and drive it like, say, a light tank. It is still, for all intents and purposes, a proper medium. But it's a medium with a big dose of alpha and an angry big gun mantlet. It's not pure stopping power. Like a lot of the German tanks, it's just an awkward bugger. It's got tough angles to pen. It doesn't have, it looks like the Tiger P's frontal armor, but it doesn't have that spaced section of armor underneath the gun across the upper glacis, which is very flat. And mark my words, it is a flat upper glacis, which means you won't be able to just roll forward and bounce shots. You're going to have to angle and side scrape to get your bounces. But for all that, it can deliver in terms of damage, it can deliver in terms of mobility, and it can deliver in terms of gun depression. So I was really pleasantly surprised because I've got to be honest, I'd never really even thought about the O1P. It had never really crossed my mind that it was going to be a tank I was going to be interested in and drive. I'd always thought I'd get round to it, but yeah, it was never really a big call. I had a crappy win rate in it. I only won about 50% of my games, but it had nearly 1650, 1700 average damage doing it over about 25 games, which to me is a far better indicator of the value of the tank than the win rate. Because as you can see here, we're going to show you one game before we go. It's not always something that you can take into account. Your team is just your team. That's 7 on 7, and their team might be better than your 7. And over 20 games, that's small sample size theatre. I mean, that's exactly what happened to me when I reviewed the Helsing. I had a crap first 25 games in it, and I thought it was just mediocre, and it was bouncing, and it wasn't penetrating, and the shots were errant, and not going where I pointed. And then suddenly the next 60 games were unstoppable love. And so I made my judgment on the first 20, and it was a little bit off. Now you can see here, I'm going to just use the cover and the side of this building here and let the love happen. Now, your dispersion, it's not amazing, but it's not bad. 0.337 is just grand, and your movement on dispersion, like most medium tanks, is good. Your coefficient for that is very good, he says, as he misses a shot and puts it into the wall. But your traverse numbers are pretty bloody handy. You're able to get around the traps, as I mentioned, at 60 kilometers an hour, which is important. And it can do 55 degrees of traverse with all your stuff loaded and 35 degrees of traverse on your turret, which is proper medium stuff. And it looks like a Tiger 1, so I reckon it looks epic. And you can see here, it pumped out plenty of damage for me. That was never an issue. And if you're smart, you can side scrape in it. You can do all kinds of things. You can shoot boxes instead of tanks, which is one of my greatest skills and attributes. And it does well. And I kind of have a good game here, although it does get a bit interesting. You can see I'm backing up. Little bit of an error here. I actually want to shoot that Vk30 I shoot the KV1S. He's down to 18 hit points, and I start side scraping. The VK goes, the Tiger 1's there, the KV2's there. This should be a pretty simple pickup from here. We have all the extra tanks, but we don't really have all the extra tanks, do we? Because, of course, the Tiger 1 at my back hasn't moved, and we miss the Tiger 1 coming out sideways, and now it looks like a 2-on-2, but it's not. It's a Tiger 1 and me versus a Tiger 1 and a KV over there. But our Tiger 1's actually just hanging around, swinging his turret at the back. And that was a big error. We took a big shot there from the KV1S. Big shot. Shouldn't have come out there. I didn't realise he was there, and he did the right thing. He reset his camo, and because he'd reset his camo, I was completely unawares that he was even there. And I thought with that lower hit point pool, he would never push out and be visible. But he was, and he did a hit point trade, which really sucked for me because I lost a big hit point pool after protecting it the entire time. What I'm going to do now is force this guy out by going up and getting in the cap. So back to the 3001P itself. It's fast, it's mobile, it's got a great gun. I really like, and this might seem like not a huge thing for you, but I didn't mean to press the button there. But I really like the fact that it has a 88mm gun. I think that is a huge difference in a medium. The T-34-85 Victory also has a nice gun. And you can see, I think I've got him on toast here. So I'm just going to move backwards and forwards here and draw the shot. And fair play to this Tiger 1. I didn't think he would get me here. I thought I'd slipped off the screen, and I'm pretty sure I had, because he wasn't spotted. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's almost like he just took a pot shot. Let's watch that again. Yeah, he just shot. He just shot that area with HE. And happened to hit my turret. So that's blitz for you. Fair play. He took a chance because if that hadn't have gone in, he was spotted and I would have had a fairly good shot at him. And as it is, player 941901960. Yeah, he really didn't do much this game. But he did. Makes a great looking screenshot though, doesn't it? Lovely screenshot. There's a 3001P, lovely mobility, lovely gun, really enjoyed that 220 Alpha. Makes a big difference playing with the big boys when you don't have to stick out as much. 3k damage, got the mastery badge, but hats off to my arch nemesis driving the Tiger 1 there. You fully deserve the win. Great anticipation, firing the HE over the top of that little ridge and tapping me just on the edge of the turret and finishing me off. And also, the KV1 has sold his soul. He only had 13 hit points left, but he traded 13 hit points for 400, and that was probably the game winner, that shot. Anyway, good tank. I really enjoyed it. I think it's well worth a drive, and I actually think it could be one of my favourite Tier 6 meds now, and that's saying something considering there's 6 of them, and there's some very influential tanks there. But I love that 220 Alpha. It was a real game changer for me, and it pumped the damage because of it. You've got the same kind of alpha damage as a lot of tier 6 heavy tanks, which is quite impressive. So anyway, Vk3001P, good stuff. Ammo whack competition coming up. It's going to be on Sunday, Easter Sunday, American time at 8 PM Eastern. Make sure you tune in for that. Actually, tune in for it and like the videos and subscribe and do all those kind of things. And we've had a recent spate on the streams where people have been donating money during stream, and I'm a big fan of that because yeah, that's how we keep the lights on. You guys, subscribers, patrons, and donations, it's literally how I make a living now. So if you would like to come along and be a sponsor, please do. There's a link all over the videos. And if you'd just like to come along and enjoy and drive and blow me up, please do. There's stuff all over the videos. Until next time, boys and girls, I'm Bushka On Blitz. Look after your families and stay safe on the battlefield.